What's going on, guys? Kind of a big deal videos. Paul here. That's me, amateur bodybuilder. I've been doing this for nearly 10 years, and I wanted to make a video today about health and dosages. Healthy dosages. That's pretty much the premise of this video, because I saw RX Muscle exclusive with Dave Palumbo and a couple of pros, and I really found it interesting, to say the least, because the individuals who are on there are both Olympia level guys, very high placing Olympia level guys. And the one individual was talking about his current dose, which was about 500 milligrams. He also talks about taking breaks, not in this video, but in other videos. So if you watch a lot of his media and follow him, he's not one to talk a lot about drugs. And I respect that, and I think people really shouldn't be talking about drugs for the most part, unless it's going to influence someone in a positive way. So I'm not going to ramble. He said his dose right now is about 500 milligrams. He comes off for about 2 to 3 months. Sometimes I think he may come off longer. And that's just, I gather that from his videos, but this for sure was his account. So 500 milligrams, and his Olympia doses aren't that high from what I've heard. And I do have good sources on that, and not just some, backstreet forum or whatever. So where am I going with this? Okay, you guys just have to think about it this way. Less is more. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've made my mistakes. And if you're using under, 300 milligrams, 200 milligrams as like a TRT level, you should be able to maintain this kind of mass if you've been using for a long time. So let me tell you a little story about myself. And everything I say is usually out of experience, so it's somewhat factual. It's completely factual, but it's my facts. It's based on my experience. So of course everyone's body is somewhat different, but you might as well listen to me if you want to know the truth about someone who's speaking from experience. And you may have a similar genetic potential as I do. So I do believe less is definitely more. And since I finished my last show, I've been riding. I came off completely for 2 months. Then I went back on about 800 milligrams in total, which I regret. I did that for about a month and a week. So I think it was around November, late November to December. So yeah, late December to January, early January. And then that was it. I started feeling kind of wonky, so I dropped it down to 300 milligrams. I sustainably rode on 300 from, January, February, I'd say February, mid-February. Then I decided to keep dropping it down to 250, down to 0.5 every 5 days. So the COVID thing kind of enabled me to drop it as low as I could, and I'm comfortable with, at around 180. And I've been sustaining off that, doing like these jailhouse workouts, and I feel great. And when I say jailhouse workouts, it's because I got a bench and a couple of big dumbbells. So really, my muscle's not disappearing. It's not going anywhere. I heard Greg Doucette saying it too. He's on TRT. His muscle's not disappearing. When I was younger, I used to think that if I wasn't running, over 500-600, my muscle would disappear. Now, in terms of research, there is a study from the 90s, and I just came across it the other day, and I found it hilarious. But at the time, I guess, it says super physiological levels of anabolics will cause mass, or cause super physiological muscle gain. It was kind of like, well, no shit, eh? But 600 milligrams, if you read that research, there was a control group, and there was this group, and they gained significant amounts of muscle. So I really think 600 is the upper limit you really need to go. 600-700 would be upper limits for anyone. I think 300 is plenty. I think 300 is like a good bulking cycle with Decadurabolin or something, and you add 200 for about 8 weeks. The reason I'm throwing out these numbers and giving these potential cycles out as not recommendations, but as something that's plausible, is because I've heard these crazy cycles that people are doing, and it's kind of disturbing to hear someone who's 160 pounds doing really, really crazy stuff. Like they'll come to me and they tell me that they're using Trenbolone at like 800 milligrams and Masteron at 400, and they just have the gambit of stuff in, and they have NPP or something, and then they'll have, maybe some EQ and some orals and some tests at like a gram, and my eyes will like light up, and I'll just pretend I don't even know what they're talking about, because at that point, I really don't want to give these people recommendations. If I know them personally, I'll probably tell them like, listen, dude, you really don't need that stuff. You really don't. And it will have serious health effects, health impacts. And like I said, I made my mistakes. I used to run a lot, but my first show I ever prepped for, I ran way too much. And like the guy I was mentioning, it was like a soup, a chemical soup. The older I get, the more I realize this chemical soup is really, really not ideal. Anyways, these drugs have specific uses. Like if you're looking at cutters, they really don't help you burn body fat per se. There's some studies on Anavar, and of course burn victims will use them, or AIDS victims, and it will reduce your body fat to some extent, and promote lean muscle mass, but that's losing body fat through lean muscle mass. But something like Winstrol, what people need to realize is these are cosmetic. One may lower estrogen, the Masteron or Primobolan, for example, will lower estrogen, right? And you'll retain less water, right? It's just your hormonal balance changes with some of these compounds. And they're primarily used for, how would I say, cosmetic purposes. So if you're going into a show and you want to look like, I don't know if you can see my picture, and you want to look super dry and hard, of course you might want to use a couple of cosmetic steroids. If not, you're not like 5-6 weeks out from a show. There's no point. If you want to look like I look now, this is like just straight little bit of testosterone and a lot of fucking weight and a lot of fucking food. And no, steroids do not make you lose weight. They will not, muscle will make you lose weight. So the more you work out, over time, of course you will have a better body composition, but it's not like you start a steroid and you're going to start burning off fat. There are plenty of people on TRT who still look like crap. It's because you need to really work it. So anyways, I want to elaborate on the sorts of cycles I would recommend that, being a 40-year-old bodybuilder, I probably wouldn't even do anymore. I'm going to try to stick to like 300 milligrams max. I don't know if I can do it, but I think throughout the course of my life, if I don't compete again, that's something I would like to do. Max, I'm saying, and most of the time TRT, and maybe even have a clean out for 3 months a year. I think this is a necessity for health. You guys can watch my heart health videos, or my other health related bodybuilding videos. The psychological factor, I don't think there's a big one, but mostly the cardiac system, or the heart itself is really, really finicky. And when it comes to anabolics, it's not something I would mess with. So that's about all I have to say. Potential cycles I would recommend for a guy starting out. I would start at 300 milligrams of testosterone and just see how that runs. After 2 or 3 years, if you're not doing a show, of course, and you just want to keep putting on mass and strength, you can always put in Decadurabolin for your joints. Really not a bad idea. You watch your estrogen, get your blood work every 3 months. Come off your cycles. Your muscle mass won't disappear provided you keep eating, you keep training, and you're smart about it. Okay. 300 milligrams to start. Add Decadurabolin maybe a year or 2 later. You'll continue to progress, I guarantee you. You want to bump it a little bit, but don't bump it much. See, you want to get as much return for as little as you can. It's going to save you money. Not that it's really expensive anyways, but it's going to save you money. It's going to save your health. Primarily, the big factor is I want to be healthy and I want to be bodybuilding till I'm 60, 70. And if you want to be alive and bodybuilding until you're older, you got to think about your health first and minimize it. And, Ideally, people should probably stop and just go on TRT in their 40s if they've been bodybuilding for a long time, or you're probably asking for disasters. You know, some people get away with it, some people can't. You got to be careful. So, you know, an intermediate, again, 500 milligrams testosterone, 200 milligrams, 300 milligrams, decadurabolin, you know, maybe 400 tests, 200 deca, and EQ, they say you should run higher, but like 200 EQ for a super advanced, you've been doing this for like 5 years. Really, I think that would give you huge gains if you had to breach a threshold. Of course, you can, if you're a power lifter and you want to be really strong for a meet, you can throw in some orals for 1 week out or 2 weeks out. I don't recommend I don't even recommend orals ever, but you know, they do their thing for strength. You know, basic orals that they've used in the 60s and 70s and even the 30s, I hear was it was around. So there's, you know, Dianabol, Trinabol was released shortly after. I would say right away from things like Winstrol. It was really sheerly cosmetic. You know, Masterone doesn't really have a huge effect other than being cosmetic for show prep. It will help, I guess, if you're dieting and you want to look dry and lean and you're only at 9% and you just want to look extra beach ready. I mean, sure, if you want that, but that's, even, in my opinion, it's not a mass builder. It's not something that's going to actually build you up or be smart, and it's just going to take away from your overall goal. Again, those are show prep things. So if you're not doing a show, you know, just stick to the basics. Powerlifters, you can look up certain orals that will make you super strong and aggressive. Unfortunately, they're not the healthiest things, but I mean, athletes, shot putters have used things other than Dianabol, namely halotestin's probably one they've used. I wouldn't use that for much longer than 3 or 4 days or a week. Very toxic stuff, not good stuff to use at all. But that said, I mean, I'm making this video for educational purposes. I want people to be healthy, so I would recommend you guys do this and be as healthy as you can, okay? Again, tests does huge wonders. And it will make you look huge, and it will make you gain super physiological muscle, even as low as 200 milligrams, 250 milligrams. That's way over your natural test levels for most people. If you take that and your receptors are good, wouldn't even mess with much more than that. I mean, to try to start at least. Okay, these guys doing a gram, they're always the guys that never gain muscle. Just saying. Kind of big deal videos. Peace.